So much to get through. I hope you are very well. Now, a leading royal commentator thinks that King Charles and Prince William should do all of the running to make up with Prince Harry. Have you ever heard such nonsense in your life? I'll be dealing with that deluded journalist, that prized numpty, in no uncertain terms. Plus, more embarrassment for Prince Harry about a charity to which he's closely linked. Seriously, folks, everything this guy touches turns to mud. And controversy from my last video. Is Robin a man or a woman's name? I'll give you the definitive answer at the end. But first, despite Prince Harry's insistence that he's worried about the safety of himself and his family when in the United Kingdom, it turns out that Harry, the H-bomb, my husband, is in fact the Duke of Double Standards. This programme can reveal that despite his failed legal efforts to gain top-level royal security in the United Kingdom, Harry and the entire family took a trip to Mexico just a few weeks ago. Mexico, of course, being a beautiful country, but one of the most violent and dangerous places on earth. Now, they reportedly stayed at the Quiche estate in Jalisco. According to Tatler magazine, the unofficial in-house newsletter of the royals, Meghan's sunset photo of Archie, which she posted on Instagram to celebrate his 6th birthday, was taken at the Casa La Playa Villa. Casa La Playa Villa, which is within the Quiche estate. Now, whilst the exact dates of the Sussex's stay are not publicly confirmed, Meghan indicated that the family celebrated Archie's birthday ahead of his actual birthday, which was May the 6th, 2025. Now, the reason why they weren't together for Archie's birthday is because Harry was in Vegas, part of a Princess Diana awards ceremony. It was very dull. Harry's the first person in the history of the world ever to go to Las Vegas and have a boring trip. What he should have done, Harry should have gone to Vegas with his uncle Andrew. He should have taken Randy Andy with him. Prince Andrew, who enjoys a bit of nightlife. Imagine those two. Andrew and Harry painting the town red, tearing up the Sunset Strip. Just imagine Andrew at a Spearmint Rhino. His eyes would pop out of his head. He'd be like a child in a sweet shop. Anyway, so Harry, the H-bomb, my husband, was in Las Vegas, boring everyone to tears about the inequality in the world. Who cares? And who are you to talk about inequality when you're a privileged multimillionaire aristocrat? I care about poverty, absolutely. But I'm not going to take lectures from an incredibly lucky young man who thinks his life is terrible. And in fact, he is completely living the dream. So let's just be clear about the timeline. This is an absolute scandal unearthed by this show, by the Mark Dolan show, which is that Harry is in court taking legal action against the UK Home Office. And by the way, that is not the done thing to do for a member of the royal family to sue the British government. Do you realise what disrepute that places the monarchy in? And it's my understanding that King Charles is furious about it. He's raging. He has effectively disowned his son. Who could blame him? But following the verdict of that particular court regarding the legal protection, Harry takes a trip to Mexico, which, as I said, is a lovely country, amazing people. I've got so many viewers in Mexico. Did you know that Mexico is in North America? You're welcome. And it's a lovely country, amazing people, amazing food, great culture, history, all of those things, no problem. But you will agree that there are parts of Mexico that are among the most dangerous on the planet. So at a certain point in recent weeks, Harry has both sued the UK government in order to get taxpayer-funded security in the United Kingdom, which is, by the way, one of the safest countries in the world. Britain is a very, very safe country. It's the home of cricket and cups of tea and snooker, or snooker as it should be called, and fair play and real ale and old men with pipes. That's the United Kingdom, all right? The UK is not a war zone. It's a peaceful, lovely country. And therefore, he goes, so he's battling the Home Office the UK government for security here. And yet he goes to Mexico, where he's basically taken his life into his own hands. Now, this is a private vacation to Mexico. And can I tell you something about Mexico? Again, I cannot reiterate. Hello, Mexico. I've got so many viewers in Mexico. But you know there are parts where there's kidnappings and where there's violence. You know that. So the US State Department officially advises travelers to reconsider travel to certain regions of Mexico, including where Harry, Meghan and the kids went a few weeks ago. So I'll tell you what the issue is. You've got a particular scandal, right? The mayor of Tachitlan, which is near Kishmala. These are not easy names for an English broadcaster to pronounce, let me tell you. I've been practicing this all day. Tachitlan, near Kishmala, was arrested. The mayor, who's supposed to be a fine, upstanding member of the community, the mayor was arrested for ties to a cartel and extermination camps where human remains were found. This is where Harry and Meghan have decided to go on holiday. And Harry is worried about his safety. So the Sussexes travelled, according to Tatler, which I've got to say is a cracking magazine. It's so incredibly posh. It will give you a huge inferiority complex. I feel like a Dickensian street urchin compared to the people in that magazine who are just achingly posh, and they've all got double-barreled names. They're all called Muffy, Puffy, Buffy and Charles Smithson Smytheson. They are dripping in money, blue bloods, all the rest of it. Anyway, so Tatler's a good read, and they are the ones who have reported that the Sussexes travelled to an exclusive resort in Jalisco, again, where a cartel extermination camp has been uncovered. What were they thinking? By the way, there's a few things to point out here. First of all, does it demonstrate how the Sussexes are quite happy to go to an area where there is extreme violence and poverty and degradation, but they're okay as long as they're in a air-conditioned, secured compound. So they're quite happy to sip mojitos and eat incredible Mexican food whilst literally centimeters from, their incredible swimming pool will be gangsters, shooting each other with rifles and hand grenades and Kalashnikovs and all the rest of it. Okay. And Harry and Meghan are quite happy to do that, to exist in that extraordinary unequal environment. But it's the same in California. I love California, but you'll agree, Americans watching, that California has got a lot of crime now. I happen to think it's an incredible state which is very, very badly run. I think it's blessed with geography, with history, the people, the culture, the entertainment industry, of course, Hollywood, California, all the rest of it, Silicon Valley. I mean, it is remarkable. It is an impossibly productive place, California. But it's also dangerous and badly run and inefficient with high taxes. And people have got to be so careful now in California. And the quality of life's gone down because of bad policies. Well, but Harry and Meghan live there, don't they? They're not worried about their security in, downtown LA, which is sketchy at best. And then they take their holidays in Mexico. It's completely shocking. And but there you go. That is Harry. He is the Duke of Double Standards. And of course, I've got some intel. By the way, let me just tell you, the Mark Dolan show, we unearthed this story because this was not picked up on by establishment media. This little story about Harry and Meghan going to Mexico just weeks ago in parallel with Harry's court case for security. He goes to Mexico, but he's worried about his security. They just mentioned it in passing. The Mark Dolan show has unearthed this and drawn it to your attention. It's a story that everyone's missed, and it's a story that we are focusing on. I think you'll agree, rightly so, because there's a public interest argument here. He can't have it both ways. He can't go to dangerous places and then say he's not safe in the United Kingdom, where the worst thing that can happen is that you will get stepped on by a sheep in Yorkshire. Right? You get your toes squashed by a ram as you cross the field, pursued by an angry red-faced farmer. I mean, that's all you've got to worry about in the United Kingdom, isn't it? In fact, United Kingdom is a country, it's so safe that if somebody accidentally bumps into you, the British person apologizes. I mean, it's just unique. But no, so Harry went to Mexico. There you go. We've broken that story. He went to Ukraine in April 2025, which, as I've pointed out, is at war. And it's Volodymyr Zelensky and Vladimir Putin. And Vladimir has been, he's been so naughty. I'm very disappointed in him waging war on a country like Ukraine. And but Harry, quite happy to go there. And he went to Lviv, a city still under threat of Russian missile and drone attacks. Buckingham Palace, this programme understands, was not informed in advance of the trip. Harry, it's our understanding, did not tell Buckingham Palace that he was going to Ukraine. So he gets no backup from the UK authorities, and yet he's worried about his safety. He went to Lesotho in October 2024. Travelled alone to this crime-prone African nation. Again, a beautiful country, lovely people, but murderous. It's rough. Okay, it is. It's a challenge on your safety. Foreign Office, UK Foreign Office warns of muggings and a violent crime and widespread gang violence. Harry went there on his own. They both went to Colombia in August of 2024, attended official events with Meghan on invitation from Colombia's vice president. World Population Review ranks Colombia as the most dangerous country in Latin America. Both UK and US authorities advise caution or avoidance of going to the country at all due to crime, terrorism, and civil unrest. Well, I'll bet you there is civil unrest when Harry and Meghan turn up, because Colombia, again, fine country, but the people are suffering. And then Harry and Meghan turn up. That surely makes their lives even more miserable. Colombia is considered the most dangerous country in South America. They went to Nigeria in May of 2023. They visited Kaduna, a region plagued by banditry, kidnappings, and violent attacks. Meghan remained in Abuja, while Harry travelled to the high-risk zone of Kaduna State, all on his own. And do you know the other thing that irritates me about these trips, right? It's not just the double standards about safety. It's the fact that Harry and Meghan pretend to be members of the royal family when they travel, don't they? I reported just a couple of weeks ago that Meghan apparently requested, or the Sussexes requested, that they're addressed as HRH when they travelled abroad, which is in contravention of the agreement, as you know, with the palace when they left the UK. And they go around the world and they just pretend to be members of the royal family. They pretend to be serving royals, don't they? And they love to be met off the plane. They love to kind of step down as though they pretend they're on Air Force One, don't they? And they go down the steps of the plane. And, Harry's there greeting his public, which is basically sort of 11 bored locals who've got nothing better to do. Probably terrorists or gangsters, right? They think he might have some interesting substances on his person, given his history, given Harry's very publicly admitted history of substance abuse. Maybe they were there to supply him with a fresh supply. Of course, we're told, and it's, I'm not going to contradict the principle that Harry is now as clean as they come. But anyway, so Harry comes off the plane. When they travel to Nigeria or Colombia, they step off the plane as though he is the king of the United Kingdom, which of course is what he wants. This guy is just as competitive as Meghan, right? She wants to be the most famous woman in the world, ultra rich, admired. She wants to be powerful. She wants to be all perfect. And Harry wants to be king, and he never will, and that's his tragedy. But he pretends. He's a cosplay king, isn't he? And he goes down the steps of the airplane in Colombia, in Nigeria. Oh, hello, nice to meet you. I'm amazed that when he actually sets foot on a foreign territory, I'm amazed he doesn't kneel down and kiss the ground like the Pope used to do. Do you remember when the Pope used to kiss the ground? I'm amazed that Harry doesn't do that, because he sees himself on that level, doesn't he? And they get given like a garland. They get the little kind of, whatever you would call that, sort of lovely configuration of flowers in a kind of what would you call that? It's a garland, isn't it? They put a garland over their neck made of flowers, and they get given a, some local apparel which they wear, and they just pretend that they're in charge, and they are not, and no one is buying it. But Harry's worried about his safety, and yet he praises killing the Taliban. In his memoir Spare, he claimed that he killed 25 Taliban fighters during his second tour of duty in Afghanistan as an Apache helicopter co-pilot and gunner. So first of all, this guy is supposed to be an aviation hero. He's in a helicopter, and he's a passenger. Right? Someone else, a proper big man, is flying the helicopter, and he's there, just reading the in-flight magazine, deciding whether he's going to buy some duty-free and order some peanuts and a glass of orange juice. Because there's no way. Are you telling me the UK Armed Forces are going to place Prince Harry, the King's son at the time, Prince of Wales' son, in harm's way? Do me a favour. So I'm so sorry. I'm not having the Prince Harry war hero act. But anyway, the bottom line is that in his memoir Spare, he claims that he killed 25 Taliban. The quote from the book is, "So my number is 25. It's not a number that fills me with satisfaction, but nor does it embarrass me." Well, that's what they call a humble brag, isn't it? It's when you pretend that you're not proud of something, but you actually are. Do you realise how against military code it is to boast about those you have killed? Because it places a target on your back. He described the Taliban combatants as chess pieces removed from the board. Now, of course, they're the enemy and they're bad people, but they're still human beings. And it's antagonistic and dangerous for the future king's son to make remarks like that about the Taliban, who are still going, and thanks to Joe Biden, are now actually back in charge of Afghanistan, right, with billions of dollars of helicopters, armaments, and actual US taxpayers' cash. So this was shocking that he said that. And it placed him and his family at risk. That book alone, the book Spare, is the most dangerous thing Harry's ever done. He's placed a target on his back by provoking the Taliban in that way. And so he's only got himself to blame. And that's why I cannot bear these double standards. But it gets worse because we're told that Harry is such a good, lovely, fluffy person. And he's so concerned with charitable causes. Except that a major conservation charity linked to Prince Harry has admitted that human rights abuses were committed by its rangers in Congo, Brazzaville, following an independent review into allegations made by members of the Baka community against African Parks rangers. The abuse is, I can't tell you. It's a family show, but we're talking about violence of every type, including unimaginable intimate violence. Yeah, I don't want to describe it to you because it's a family show and it's so appalling. But this charity that Harry's put his name to, it needs to be defunded and completely, those guilty of any law breaking must face justice. And it's another disaster for Harry. This is after Sentebale, which is a charity he formed in memory of his mother, which I think the firm and the royal family helped organise that for him because he was so immature at the time, dressing up as historic dictators and all the rest of it. His behaviour was pretty wild when he was a young man. The palace decided, okay, let's organise a charity for him. We'll help him with Sentebale. We'll do the Invictus Games. And he's left that with the last CEO, seemingly a very nice lady, who has accused him of prejudice, bullying, and abuse. Everything Harry touches turns to mud. But I'm going to give you now the views of one of the most bizarre journalists in Britain. Libby Purvis writes for the Times. Let me tell you, she's a great journalist. She's been around for decades. She's a brilliant writer. She knows her onions. She's had a great career. I am a fan of Libby Purvis, but I don't know what's happened to her and her brain. I think she's been on Meghan's flower sprinkles. My husband. Because Libby Purvis, who up until about 3 days ago was a wise and rational person with whom I largely agree, has written an article in the Times newspaper, which I highly recommend. It's a good newspaper. They require a subscription, but hey, good journalism costs money. I like the Times. It's a good paper. And Libby is a columnist there. And wait till you hear this. the royals. By the way, today I'm drinking rooibos tea. Do you know it? Or red bush tea. I've got a lot of viewers in South Africa. Hello. I love South Africa, beautiful country. Cape Town, Durban, Johannesburg. That's where I discovered rooibos tea, which is very much like regular English breakfast tea. It's like black tea, but it's got a slightly sweeter taste, but similar, full-bodied, great flavor, and no caffeine. The rooibos tea, or the rooibos plant, red bush tea, rooibos, red bush, same thing, is naturally caffeine-free, but it kind of has tea-like qualities. You know, when you put boiling water on it, it goes brown, and then you can add milk, or you can have it black, or however you like it. Anyway, I've got mine with whole milk and a splash of cream, and sweetened with erythritol, which is a natural calorie-free alternative to sugar. Big fan of it. Anyway, I discovered red bush tea, rooibos tea in South Africa, completely caffeine-free. It's not decaffeinated. It just doesn't have caffeine in it, and it's delicious. However, Libby Purvis at the Times has written that the royals, okay, she's talking about Charles and William here, they need to offer Prince Harry an olive branch. She said Charles and William could put an end to this nonsense by inviting the Duke and his family to a proper family reunion. She argues that despite Prince Harry's awful interview and repeated public grievances, it's actually William and Charles who must act. That's right. The ball's in their court. Make it make sense. They should grit their teeth, she says, and invite Harry and Meghan back into the family, not grudgingly, but wait for it, there's a direct quote, repeatedly, warmly, insistently. She said that Harry's interview with the BBC was ill-advised, but she notes that he suggested dark, secret wrongs done against him and that reconciliation would only be possible if his truth was acknowledged and demands met. What does Harry know about the truth? This is a guy that lies about his security concerns and then goes on holiday to Mexico, where he gets woken up in the dead of the night by a man called Mr. Big, who controls a drug cartel worth $1 billion, who he probably knows from his old days, scoring marijuana and other hard substances. His truth needs to be acknowledged. His demands met. This is a British journalist, folks. He claimed the royal household tried to imprison him and his wife and threatened Britain's reputation if anything happened to him. Purvis says that was aimed at a US audience. Well, I think she's right about that. But how can she defend any aspect of that interview? This is an interview, don't forget, in which Harry basically implied that King Charles is terminally ill. That's actually what Harry said. But reading between the lines in his video, in his interview with the BBC, he implied that Charles is terminally ill. He did. Now, our great hope is that Charles will recover. And the messaging from the king is that he's receiving ongoing treatment and that he's hopeful for a good outcome. His own son has written a death warrant on his father. And a Times journalist still thinks that the ball's in Charles's court. Charles has been consigned to certain death by next Tuesday, and yet Charles is the bad guy. Make it make sense. So that is the key aspect of what she has said. She writes, he looked deeply unhappy in the interview. Well, yeah, that's because he's the world's least happy millionaire. He is an unhappy man, but that's not Charles's fault or William's. She said he thinks his family don't care about his safety or forgive him for writing a book. She acknowledges the public backlash. She said he and Meghan suffer declining public approval on both sides of the Atlantic and are vilified online, but she wonders why. Well, is it because the couple have done books, podcasts, TV interviews, documentaries attacking the royal family and making the most egregious claims against them, the worst of which is the R word, racist. It's the worst thing you can say about someone, isn't it? And they did it. And yet Libby Purvis from the Times thinks that it's the royal family, who have been slandered and libelled, have got to say sorry. They've got to say, sorry seems to be the hardest word. I'm afraid not. Don't hold your breath. They should never apologise. Let me know what you think, but I think that Charles and William should double down. And I don't know, there should be some apparatus that guarantees that Harry's never welcome back into the family. I mean, I'm a forgiving nature, raised a Roman Catholic. If he said sorry, if Meghan wasn't on the scene, maybe I can leave the door 1% open. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Do we close the door? Close the door and left me blind. I don't know why, but for some reason, Elton John has inhabited my psyche today. So she's lost the plot. She's completely wrong about this. If you agree with her, again, let me know in the comments, because this shows a broad church. She said that William and Charles should act now. The only people capable, his brother, Harry's brother and his father, should grit their teeth and deploy superhuman resources of humour, charity, and resignation. What is she on? Her main argument is the royal family should invite Harry and Meghan back repeatedly, not just for resentful 15-minute negotiations, but for days or weeks at Balmoral, Sandringham and Windsor. Can you imagine Meghan Markle rattling around the mansion at Sandringham, complaining about the decor and how, I don't know, no one's asked her how she's feeling today. Don't forget that Frogmore Cottage, which is, the home of anyone's dreams, wasn't good enough for Meghan. My husband. And by the way, just imagine Meghan being allowed anywhere near Princess Catherine. Would you be comfortable to allow Meghan anywhere near Princess Catherine? Could Meghan be trusted? Do you remember Downton Abbey, that drama? Have you ever seen it? Great British Victorian drama set in a country house with the aristocrats, and then you've got the servants living in the basement or working in the basement, the kitchen, all that. Very good Downton Abbey. And there's a really dodgy butler called, what's he called? Thomas. And he's just always up to no good, causing trouble and then sometimes death and destruction. I see Meghan as Thomas the butler of the Windsor family. She's sneaky. And I don't think I would allow her anywhere near Princess Catherine. Would you leave? Princess Catherine just recovered from cancer, thank God. Long may that continue. But she's still delicate, isn't she? Emotionally and physically, healing. Imagine if she had to deal with Princess Tippy Toes, Little Miss Perfect, Meghan Markle. It would be so bad. Because Meghan pretends that she wants a rapprochement with Princess Catherine, doesn't she? But in her head, let me give you Meghan's internal monologue, right? Meghan's internal monologue about Princess Catherine is as follows. Princess Catherine is my friend. I like Princess Catherine. Upon her, I wish no harm. That's her inner monologue, folks. For me, I find Meghan terrifying. Okay? And I wouldn't let her anywhere near our Catherine. Just my opinion. In fact, when Meghan and Harry go to Mexico, I feel sorry for the gangsters because they might catch a glimpse of Meghan and her terrifying grin. My husband. Don't you know I'm not Meghan Markle anymore? I'm Meghan Sussex! So, that's it. Libby Purvis, great journalist. She's got this one wrong. We all make mistakes, don't we? And Libby has dropped a clanger. In fact, I don't know if where is the microphone for a mic drop? I don't have the microphone. We'll do an alternative device for the mic drop, but it's... she definitely lost the plot on that one. I will finish on this. She goes, she envisages a full family reintegration. She said, introduce the small cousins, let the king play with his grandchildren, attempt warmth and tolerance across the cultural gulf, and doggedly refuse ever to take offence. Okay. Does she not realise, Libby Purvis, this journalist, that if she allows Harry and Meghan anywhere near Sandringham or Buckingham Palace or any of the royal estate, what they'll do is they'll take photographs, which Meghan will slam straight onto Instagram because she doesn't care. And don't forget that picture of Archie, which is highly inappropriate because she shouldn't be putting her kids on social media, was taken in Mexico. Dangerous place. In fact, that picture of him with his back to the camera, just seconds later, I can imagine a sort of cabal of bandits grabbing the poor child. I mean, seriously, what were they thinking? God forbid that should ever happen. But I wouldn't take my children, Elton and Bernie, I wouldn't take them. Can you feel the love tonight? I wouldn't take them to war-torn Mexico. I went to Mexico City. I loved it. I feel bad because you're watching in Mexico. I feel like I'm being harsh on your country. But I wouldn't, not if I was Prince Harry, I wouldn't. And actually, if I took my kids, I'd still have my eyes in the back of my head. Because I was in Mexico City, which I love, beautiful historic city. But there were kidnappings at the time while I was there. So, it's certainly tricky. It's a challenging place. Can I tell you a quick story about, before we wrap things up in a second, but including whether Robin is a man or a woman's name. I went to this expo, this event. It was a show for the adult entertainment industry. It was for a documentary I was doing for Channel 5, I promise. And there was an exhibit, and there was a lady there. Family show, so I'll phrase this very carefully. That she was on a stand. There was a stand. It was an adult entertainment show. Like an expo, as I say, like an industry event, with leaflets and stands and posters and all that. And there was a lady, and she was just standing there, quite glamorous lady. And I wondered what her job was. And this guy comes up to her and hands her like $10. She then takes what can only be described as her upper clothing. Okay, she's like wearing a t-shirt, some sort of top. And she lifts it up, okay? And let me just say there's an absolutely zero clothing underneath is what is going on here. Didn't know where to put my eyes. Family show. And he then places his hands there in the, on the, the kahunas. I don't know what, I don't even want to go there with euphemisms, but the female lactose producing epicenters. And then off he goes. And then the t-shirt goes down. I've never seen anything like it in my life. I was dumbfounded and shocked and had a small amount of therapy after that experience. But anyway, that's Mexico. Look, anything goes. It's an interesting country. But what would happen is if you allowed Harry and Meghan into the royal properties, they would quite clearly and patently take pictures, which Meghan puts on Instagram. And then the other thing they'd do is they would listen to what people have said. They would change what those other royals have said in their head. They'd like pervert the truth. And then they'd go and do a TV interview with Oprah Winfrey. And they'd go and lie about the royal family all over again. And then Harry would write another book and Meghan would do another podcast. And the whole merry-go-round would continue. And that's why this journalist is so wrong. If you allow that couple back onto royal property, that's just more material for their grift. That's what it is. A pair of royal grifters. Don't take my word for it. That is what a senior executive at the podcast company Spotify said, who called Harry's ideas for shows embarrassing and called the pair grifters with the F word beforehand. But we've had so much adult material tonight. I can't believe what an adult... Yesterday, in the previous video, we had a lot of buttocks, which I wasn't planning. More buttocks than I expected. I felt like we reached the elastic limit of buttocks. And if you haven't seen the previous video, then do check it out. What was the title of the video? Oh, yes, it was Reckless Meghan Sued for $12 million. Folks, let me now tell you that we are going to wrap things up. But it was a very busy video, the previous video. I won't say yesterday because you guys watch these videos all different times of the week, different times of the day. By the way, so many comments. I think over 2,000 comments for the previous video. I love the comments. It's the absolute favorite thing, best part of my day. And lots of comments about everything, of course. And one of them was the fact that I talked about this poor lady called Robin Patrick. Now, this is a lady basically, with a lot of controversy about my pronunciations and stuff. So it turns out she's from Maryland. Okay. Now, this is a wonderful state in America. I called it Maryland. Like, Baltimore, Maryland. It's not. It's Maryland. So I've learned that. And I'd love to go to Maryland at some point. If you're watching in Maryland, will you send me a comment? Let me know. Give me a shout out and let me know if I've pronounced it correctly. And I will tell you that I was talking about this lady, Robin Patrick, and I joked that she's got a male name because actually Robin and Patrick. And I said that her parents obviously wanted a son because they gave her 2 boys' names. Well, they didn't give her the surname, but Robin Patrick sounds like a masculine name. Anyway, lots of you pointed out that actually there are many women called Robin. Now, what further confused me is I do know that Robin with a Y is a girl's name. So, for example, you have the actress and model Robin Givens, who I think was married to Mike Tyson. And that's Robin with a Y, isn't it? So I'll acknowledge that I've always known that Robin with a Y was a female name. But this Robin Patrick lady, she's suing Meghan Markle. You've got to see the video if you haven't seen it. She's suing Meghan Markle for $12 million because she got her skin badly burnt from Meghan's ridiculous and rather bonkers bath salts recipe from the Netflix show, which was just complete discarding of health and safety and duty of care. Anyway, the poor woman, I wish Robin Patrick well. But I repeated the theme that she had a boy's name, which added to the confusion somewhat. But many of you have pointed out that not only... But anyway, so Robin Patrick's name is actually spelled R-O-B-I-N. And I thought R-O-B-I-N with the I, that's boy. And then R-O-B-Y-N is girl. As in Batman and Robin, R-O-B-I-N, boy. By the way, what was going on with Batman and Robin? They were close, weren't they? Neither of them ever married. What's the story there? Then you've got Robin Givens with a Y. It's a lady. Anyway, I stand corrected, and you are much wiser than me in all matters, including on names. So it turns out that Robin with an I is a unisex name. It can be male or female. It's traditionally male in the UK and the US. And Robin with an I has been historically more common for men, such as Robin Williams or Robin Gibb, who, by the way, is one of my favourite composers, the Bee Gees. Aren't they brilliant? But it's also a name for women, especially in the United States. Since the mid-20th century, Robin Wright is a lady, and that's R-O-B-I-N. And the journalist Robin Roberts, which is, I mean, again, there's a lot of male names there. Robin Roberts. What a minefield this is. So therefore, let me tell you that you are right. And thank you for clarifying that. Let me tell you, I'm going to just give this lovely lady a shout out. There is a lady that was watching the show. She's in the United States. And she said, I'm called Robin and I'm a girl. And Robin, big shout out to you. Thank you for watching the show. She was very kind about the show. And thank you for that. Folks, that takes us to the end of the show. It has been a treat, a delight. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, the alarm bell, because then you'll be alerted when a new video comes. Stay awesome. Thank you for your support, and I cannot wait to see you for the next one. My husband!